Hey gang, how are you on whatever lovely day you might be finding this video? I am Nikki and this is Automated Notion, where we put your Notion to work for you. And my apologies for not being on camera today. It is a beautiful Sunday morning. I'm currently in my pajamas and didn't feel like setting up my camera or putting on regular clothes. So I kind of feel like I'm doing radio right now, or podcast with video, I guess. So I was inspired to shoot this video this morning. So I wanted to give you a glimpse of how I use Notion. I received a few questions saying that people want to see more of how I use Notion and how I actually incorporate these automations into my day. So I hopefully this won't be a long video. I just wanted to mainly give you a glimpse of my dashboard because, dashboards are very big in the Notion community. I personally believe in a very minimalistic dashboard. I get very overwhelmed when I see too much text on a page, when I see too many databases, or I just, I truly believe in the beauty of toggles, and I really feel like toggles are a form of mental health management. They keep the anxiety away. So to start with, as you see at the top, I have my day of the week banner, Sunday, and this is actually automated. This cover is automated, so I'm not going in every day and changing the banner. I have a automation that does that for me. And basically what it does is it looks at today's date and calculates what day of the week it falls on. And then it has a folder where I've named these cover images that I have by the day of the week. And it searches for Sunday. And then it will send it over to my Notion and change the cover. And it works beautifully, although I think I might be changing. Sunday is kind of a sad color. I didn't notice. I guess I don't come in here very often on Sundays, so I didn't notice it was gray. This is very drab. So I think I'm going to need to change up the design of these covers. They're very simple. I did them in Canva, so I might change them up for the month. And then over here on the left, we have my gallery. This is my motivation gallery. It only has one card on it, and that too is also an automation. And so I have another folder called Motivation. I have motivational graphics that I found across online. I think this graphic actually was created in Canva because I typically like to have the creator's name or Twitter handle saved somewhere on there, just a reminder of who provided this beautiful image. And in that automation, it's basically, calculating a random number, and all of the motivation images I have saved with numbers. So let's say this was image number 1. The automation would calculate a random number rather, and if the number is 1, it will look for the image that is named 1 and then send it to Notion. So I love these two things. They are very small, minor automations. They're just for fun and they make me happy. But the main reason why I am here today is I want to show you my calendar. And this too is automated. So this is my calendar view. And don't get overwhelmed if it seems like a lot. Most of this is part of my daily routine. I use an app called Reclaim that manages my routines, and it adds items that I've pre-set up to my Google Calendar. And so anytime you see like something with like icons in front of it, that's basically just a routine, a reminder. I think I have here, my morning catch up is basically like my morning review. And this is automated using Make or Integromat. Basically, the automation is it checks my Google Calendar. I believe I have it set up every half hour or once an hour for items that I have added, and then it will add it to Notion. And it's also set up that if I update an item in my Google Calendar, it will also update it in Notion. Now this is kind of sort of a two-way sync because I also have separate automation set up that if I add an event to this Notion calendar, which I don't often do, but I do have an automation where I have a separate social media um, dash, not dashboard. I have a separate project management database that I manage social media with. And whenever I schedule a post within my social media um, database, it will send it to my Google Calendar, and it would also add it to this Notion calendar. So I can see it in two separate places because as a social media manager, you want to make sure you know what posts are going out for your clients. So there's a lot of automation going on in this calendar, and I did shoot a separate video kind of showing you the automation side of things for my calendar. So hopefully if I get to editing that, I have so many videos that I shot that just need to be edited. So let's take this card here, for out of office. And if it is an item that was added by Google, it'll show main calendar, which is the name of my Google Calendar. And I have quite a number of calendars. Let's zoom in. So there we go. That's good. So I have quite a number of calendars, and some of these are all being inpointed for the most part through automation. I have this all so set up that I barely even touch this calendar. It is just showing things that are just being added. When clients set up meetings for consultation, you can see schedule once. So I've been doing a lot of automations consultations, and so clients just go in, they schedule when they want to meet with me, and then it gets schedule once, just sends it out to whatever calendars I specified, and then it also gets scheduled here in Notion. And then my social media calendar is assigning the social media tags. So I basically never actually have to touch this calendar, and I love it because I was once really, really bad at managing my time. So the fact that I don't really have to do much and my time is being managed and I always know what's going on, it's a beautiful thing. After it's entered the start times, and there's a reason why I have a start and end time here and also have the end time here. This start and end time within the start date is mainly so that if an event crosses multiple days, it'll actually show up on my Notion calendar as crossing multiple days. Whereas if I just had this end entry, it wouldn't do that. So we have the Google Calendar URL. So if I actually wanted to make changes directly from here, I can click on the link and it'll open Google so that I can actually make the changes. So no changes. If I make a change onto here, it's not going to show up on my Google Calendar. And I'm fine with that because, like I said, I'm not actually processing things in here. I just want this to be a mirror of my Google Calendar. And when I make updates in Google Calendar, say a client has canceled or rescheduled, it's going to look for the event ID that Google has assigned for this. And so if the event IDs match, it'll update it, because you might have events titled the same exact thing. You might have events that repeat. So you don't want it to just search for the title. You want to search for something that is specific to this item. Real reason why I wanted to shoot this video is because of these formulas. When you discover the beauty of formulas, it will change your life in Notion. So let's jump in, because this formulas has really changed how I plan or just manage this calendar. And let's start with this first tag that's called this week. And I'm gonna maximize this. So this week is a board view and is grouped by the actual day of the week. So all the events on Monday fall within the Monday column, and Tuesday, Wednesday, and so forth. And so how do we do this? This isn't a status tag. You can actually group by formula. And again, let's zoom in here. And so the way we are getting this day of the week, I guess I don't want to say tag because it's not a tag property, but the way we're calculating, that's better. The way we're calculating the day of the week is very simple. We are telling Notion, take our start date and format it so that we're only seeing what day of the week that it falls on. So we have 4 Ds here, which means it's going to spell out the full day. If I only had, if I had 1 D, it'll return a number. Okay, so if I have 1 day, it'll show me the number as in, this is the first day, the second day, third day. If I have 2 Ds, it'll abbreviate it to the first 2 letters, 3 Ds, the first 3 letters, and then 4 Ds to write it out. And then you basically just go in. You want to click these 3 little dots up here for editing. Come down to group. And you see you can group by day of the week. And then you will have to manually sort this. Notion's not going to know what order you want these. So I don't mind that Saturday and Sunday are actually cut off. Plus I have a pretty wide screen here. If I make these cards smaller, I can get the entire weekend here. But mostly the reason why this is cut off is because I don't want to see the hidden groups. I'd rather cut off all the other columns than to see the hidden groups. The hidden groups just annoys the heck out of me because you're not actually hidden. Sorry for that rant. All right, so let's click in to this card. So we want to see the this week formula because this is the this week view. So let's break down this formula here. So whenever you want to just see a part of a date, you have to first format it because you have to tell the system, here's how I want you to look at the date. I want you to ignore the actual date number. In this instance, we're ignoring the month and everything. I just want you to look at, I want you to format it so that you're only looking at the week. So we're looking at what week within the year this date is falling on. And we have a capital W. If it's a capital W, believe the week starts on Monday. If it's a lowercase w, the week starts on Sunday. And then I've specified that I want you to also look at the year. Make sure that we are looking at the right year, because I've had instances where I've had items from years past show up because it was also, like, say this is the 52nd day, the 52nd week of 2022. And I also had an event that fell on the same date in 2020 because I didn't specify what year that I was looking at. Rather, I had an event from 2020 that also fell on the 52nd week. Because I didn't specify the year, that item would show up in a column. Because I've been using Notion now for years. This calendar it's morphed so many times, but it's always been the same database. So there are events in this calendar from years and years ago. So that might happen. So in order to avoid that, I wanted to also make sure that we're looking within 2022. We're asking if this event's start date falls on the same week as the week we are currently in. So again, we're formatting our date. We're looking at the current date and time, and we're formatting it to only look at what week within a year that it falls on within 2022. If these two things are equal, then it's going to deliver a checkbox. It's going to check it off. So we're basically saying, yes, this statement is true. Today's start date falls on the same week we are currently in. If it is false, then the checkbox would be empty. And I love this because I was constantly making filters, look between this date and that date, and then sometimes you forget to update the filter. Anything that saves me even a millisecond, I am going to do. So I never have to set up a filter to make sure. And plus the this week filter or the next week filter within Notion, it doesn't give you the day that you're on. So I want also to see what day that I'm actually on. Let's go into next week. And again, it also has the days of the week. It also has how soon the event is. So Monday starts in 11 hours. Eek. Gosh, my Sunday is flying here, so it's actually the afternoon instead of morning. And Tuesday is in 2 days. But let's go ahead and look into this card, and let's look at the next week formula. And the next week formula is this basically the same as the this week formula. We've added an extra step. In addition to formatting the date to show the week and the year, we're telling Notion to add 1 week to the date, because I don't want to see this week. I want to see the next week. And next week is this week plus 1 week. Now, if I had to set up as like day or a month or even year, then it would look at our now current date and time and then add 1 day or 1 month or 1 year. And again, since this is basically like a true-false statement, a Boolean, we have our checkbox. If it is true that our start week is within next week, we get a checkbox. If it's false, it's unchecked. And I will copy and paste these formulas down in the description, so you don't have to worry about remembering how to do this. And then finally, we have our agenda. So this is my agenda view. And as you can see, the only thing I have scheduled for today is to make dinner, because it's Sunday. I ain't got to do anything else but feed my family. So in a traditional agenda view, you want to see things broken down by what time that they're scheduled for. And I can't think of any other view within Notion that would give that to me in a satisfying way. A board view, a calendar. The calendar view, I don't want to see the entire calendar. I just want to see that specific date. So this is why I created this agenda view. It's created with a table, and we are using another formula where I have my time formula. And I'm going to zoom in so we're only looking at this formula. Okay, so we have up here, we are returning our start time and our end time separated by an arrow. So we have some calculations we're doing here. We're starting with an if formula, or an if statement rather, and we are telling Notion to calculate the time between the end date and the start date. So we want to calculate the time between, or the date between our end date and our start date. And we want this calculation to be returned in minutes. So if we have an event that starts, let's say the event is all day. Now, when does an all day event start? The all day event is going to start at 12 a.m. that morning, and it's going to end at 12 a.m. the next day. So so if I took the time away from here and I turned it back on, you can see May 22nd starts at 12 a.m. Let's do the same for our end date. And you can see here that my formula returned this as all day because the minutes between our end date and our start date is 0. Now we have a second if statement. If the hours, we're now looking at hours here, between our end date and our start date, and if it's greater than 24, that is also considered all day. So for instance, like your vacation could cross multiple days. So you'd want that to show up on your agenda as all day. Now let's go back, and so hopefully I will start dinner at 5 p.m. and it'll be on the table. How likely is that going to be at 6 p.m.? So now we have, how do we get the time to show up like this? Here we have a join function. We're looking at our format date, and I'm going in the middle here, and then I'm going to work out. So we have our start date, and I want Notion to strip away everything else and only look at the time. I wanted you to give me the hour, and I only have one H here. If I had two H's, it would put a 0 in front of the 5. I have minutes, which I have two M's because I wanted to show both zeros. If I had only one M, it would take away one of the zeros. And then I also want Notion to show me whether it's AM or PM, so I have a capital A here so that it's in all caps. If I had a lowercase a, it would be in lowercase. And then I want you to format my end date exactly the same way. And the reason why we have a join function is because I want you to join these two items by an arrow. So, and again, I will have this description so that you can just copy it and paste it into your formula. But I want you to understand what you're actually doing here, what all of this means. So we have it set up between 5 p.m. and 6 p.m. So let's go back to our view. Now we're not going to stop there. Whenever I set something up, because I consider this to be an automation of sorts, I look at formulas as a form of coding actually. It's using a lot of the same language that you're going to see throughout coding. Now you're always like, okay, so if this happens, then what? Then what's next? It's great that I can see, my schedule. So let's say, let's add shoot YouTube video. And let's say I have this scheduled. I got to actually open this card. And I had the schedule for today at 10 a.m. There we go. Being zoomed out was throwing me off there. All right. So you can have an understanding of how this is supposed to look. And let's put in another item. Edit video. And this item is going to start shortly after shooting the video. Let's make this 12 p.m. And between 12 p.m. and 1 p.m. Okay, so you see what happened here? I now have a little green dot here. Why do I have this green dot? Well, this is also a formula. And this formula is saying if right now is greater than the start date and less than the end date, then show me this green dot. So basically, it's asking is right now within my start date and my end date. If it is, give me a green dot. If it's not, leave it blank. So it's giving me a green dot to tell me, hey, this is what you're supposed to be working on right now in this very minute. I am behind schedule, clearly. But yeah, I want to be able to just go in and see at a glance, what am I supposed to be doing right now, Notion? Well, here you go. I got this green dot. It's telling me this is what you're supposed to be doing right now. And then I have my time formula telling me, and this is how long you're supposed to be doing it for. If you could tell how excited I am about this, about my voice, I am very excited. I've been wanting an agenda view for quite a long time, and I finally have it. I know a lot of people out there have wished that we can just see the agenda. The timeline view just doesn't do it for me, mostly because I think because it's horizontal and it doesn't think the way my brain thinks. I don't know. Like, I like the timeline view when I'm looking at months ahead or weeks ahead, but when I just want to see what's happening in the next hour, seeing it vertical like this, line by line, makes the most sense. So that is my calendar, part of my dashboard. If I feel up to it, I'm not going to make any promises. You've learned not to believe my promises. But I'm going to try to get through these other ones. I can't do it in today's video because we will be sitting here for hours, and I'm not trying to make you do that. But if you have any questions about my calendar view, please don't hesitate to comment below. If you have any questions about the automation that I do for my covers, also comment below, to ask for that video. If a lot of people want to see it, I will shoot that video and demonstrate that. If you found this useful, click like. Want to see more videos like this, please remember to follow. And until next time, happy building a Notion.